Okay, the first order of business is to approve the meetings from December 18th, 2017 work session, non-public, and regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the non-public and regular meeting minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The Select Board will meet on the following dates. Regular meeting, 6 p.m. Monday, January 22nd, and February the 12th, 2018. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. Additional meetings scheduled Wednesday, January 17th, 2018, at 6 p.m. There'll be a work session meeting to discuss the budget. Wednesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. will be the first public hearing on the budget will be held. Wednesday, January 31st, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. a special town meeting at the Plymouth Regional High School to vote on a rights-based ordinance. A second public hearing is scheduled, if needed, for Wednesday, February the 7th, 2018, at 6 p.m. for the budget. Tentative work session Monday, January 29th, 2018, if needed for other business. All of the above meetings will be held at the Town Hall unless otherwise posted. Citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before 12 p.m. the Friday before the scheduled meeting. New members are needed to fill the Zoning Board and Planning Board. If interested, please submit a letter of intent to the Plymouth Select Board's office, 6 Post Office Square, Plymouth, New Hampshire, 03264. Town offices will be closed on January 15th, 2018 for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The Resources, Recreation, and Development Committee will hold a public hearing on January 10th, 2018 at 1 p.m. to discuss House Bill 1470, a bill that will repeal timber tax. If you support the collection of timber tax, please write a letter to the Resource Committee addressed to 20 Brookside Lane in Hebron, New Hampshire, 03241. The Commissioners of the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District are holding a public hearing on January 16th at 6 p.m. to discuss the financing of projects to replace water and sewer lines on Main Street, establish a new source of water, and construct a distribution system for it, septic receiving unit, and pump improvements. Correspondence, a letter from State Senator Bob Giuda highlighting some of the progress made by the state of New Hampshire last year. Good morning, Paul. The Resource Committee, which I am a member of, will hold a public hearing on HB 70 on January 10th at 1 p.m. The bill will repeal the timber tax. The DRA states that over $3 million is generated annually from municipalities from New Hampshire on the, I'm sorry, where's the letter from Senator Giuda? Here it is. Okay, I'm sorry. Wrong item. Dear members of the board, as 2017 draws to close, I'd like to highlight some of the actions we took in Concord this year. The biennial budget ranks the highest on that list. With the hard work of the House and Senate and Governor Sununu, we passed fiscal 2018-19 budget, which was signed into law in late June. As a member of the Committees on Finance, Ways and Means, and Education, I was heavily involved in making certain that our budget priorities were in line with the needs of the state and district in formulating tax policy revenue estimates that reflect the current economic environment and our projections for the future. The budget includes several new programs related to education that directly benefit your town. To encourage our students in the study of science, technology, energy, and math, funding was made available for schools to create and equip robotic teams to participate in FIRST Robotics. FIRST was founded by New Hampshire's own Dean Kamen to help get students interested in the STEM fields. The budget also contains $1.8 million in funding for a new dual enrollment program, giving high school students the chance to take advanced STEM courses at local community colleges for college credit. We also created a $5 million college scholarship fund for high-achieving high school students to incentivize them to pursue college in New Hampshire. Starting in 2019, the state will fund at a minimum an additional $1,100 for every full-day kindergarten pupil, and depending on Keno revenues, that figure could go as high as $1,800 per pupil. There is no requirement for towns to have a full-day kindergarten, but the funds will be available if the town decides to implement or already has a full-day program. To protect the ability of our communities to decide for themselves if they want Keno, the law stipulates that Keno can only take place in communities that have voted to allow it. The combination of conservative budgeting and higher than expected revenue growth, the state closed fiscal year 2017 with a huge surplus. We made it a priority to help cities and towns by sending it to them as additional one-time funding. We used part of the surplus to double the amount of money that municipalities receive for local road and bridge repairs. $30 million will be sent to and for road work under the apportionment A formula in addition to what is typically appropriated. An additional $6.8 million was appropriated for the state aid bridge program, doubling its size and making it possible to remove twice as many municipal red list bridges from the list that originally planned. We significantly beefed up the state's rainy day fund to $100 million. Additional surplus funds will be deposited into the Public School Infrastructure Fund. Estimated at roughly $6 million, these funds can be used by school districts to fund internet access upgrades, minor repairs to school buildings, and to improve security measures. Recognizing the importance of protecting our drinking water and groundwater, we made changes to the recently established Drinking Water and Groundwater Trust Fund. As a result, the MTBE contamination. The state received substantial settlement and litigation money. The commission that oversees the fund has been expanded and modeled after the successful LCHIP program. It will encourage public-private partnerships while leveraging funds to protect our drinking water and groundwater for many years to come. We also passed legislation giving the Department of Environmental Services the authority to establish a loan program for eligible businesses to mitigate well water contamination and connect communities to the public water supplied for this trust fund. Our citizens must have access to clean water across the state. This trust fund will help to ensure access to clean drinking water regardless of circumstances. You want to pick it up there, Bill?
Mr.
Right.
Chair, I was going to suggest, this is
Right.
a real long letter,
Okay.
and we tried not to read that
Okay.
one. No, but it's an important one. I'm going to have this posted on TV and the website,
All right.
because I believe we better start quickly looking into when the town's supposed to vote on the Keno, because if we need a warrant article, we need to get it together within a week or so. And we're probably going to have to handle this also at next week's meeting with the Budget Committee. So we need to contact Mr. Guider, Senator Guider, right away. Unless one of the board members already know. Bill, do you know anything from the state? Because as I'm reading this now, I think, well, if we need a warrant article,
Okay.
we've got a public hearing in 2 weeks.
I'll give Bob a call tomorrow.
You may want to urge them to, since we're in such a surplus, to have the state, help us with the shared revenue, which is now zeroed out.
I'm sorry, and Josie was our deputy clerk, and I just got this from the town clerk's office. Should the selectmen decide to place Keno on the town warrant, the suggested language for the warrant article would be, and then it gives the warrant article. So it's probably this year, this March, we need to talk about this. Because we're going to start wanting to get some public input. It probably is going to be at the March meeting.
It's kind of compressed.
And I can read, what the warrant article is going to read is to see if the town will vote to allow the operation of Keno within the town pursuant to the provisions of NHRSA 28:4:41 through 51. Note that a public hearing on the question must be held 15 to 30 days prior to the town meeting. Finally, the statute describes the wording to be used for the question on Keno substantially as follows: shall we allow the operation of Keno games within the town? So this is going to have to be voted on in March, and we are going to have to get it at a meeting before the townspeople within 30 days before our March meeting. So we've got to
Okay,
get moving on
well-
this.
It's
Contact Bob and,
too bad we can't combine the special meeting with, that's a financial issue, though, and you can't bring it
Yeah,
forward.
it's monetarily
Right.
tied versus the other one isn't. So we'll start working on that tomorrow, and John, if you can still contact Bob.
we have a letter of intent from Greg
That was Netner, I think.
to be a member of the Conservation Commission, and a letter of intent from Amy Sullivan to be a member of the Plymouth Energy Commission. Greg's, yeah,
On both, or
I move that we appoint Greg Netner to the Conservation Commission.
I should have moved that, but that's okay. I'll second it, okay? So he's living in my
all
house.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and Amy Sullivan?
Make a motion that we appoint her to the Conservation Commission,
Mike.
No,
the Energy Commission.
One second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And while we're signing it, could I make a comment on the fact that we always have been reminding people to, sign up for the planning board? We're full. I mean, we're full of full members.
Good. Nice.
And we've got one, actually, we got one alternate, we're getting another alternate, too. So we're doing quite well with the planning
Well,
board.
that's good, I'm glad people are,
The ZBA is still kind of shy, I think.
people are stepping up. Maybe I'll get Joan on that one. All right. The purchase orders for the highway department. Joe. Thank you for keeping the snow off the road. You guys did a great job. And the people in town should let you know when they see you.
It's not easy when it's so cold.
It's not easy when it's wet either. Okay, we have, you want to go over the purchase order?
Yep, I have one for Anderson Equipment. And that one's for repairs on our grader. We had another failure, so they have the components down there. And they have almost all the parts to put it back together. So, just looking to fund it.
Is this the grader that's been sitting somewhere for the past several months or something?
No, last couple months. We got about half the summer out of it,
Yeah, okay.
and then it failed again, but on
The
a
other
different
side of
area.
the hydraulic, right?
The problem is it's an 88, and
Yeah.
it's getting tired.
Do we have a motion
I
to?
move that we fund this request for $7,631.19 to repair the grader.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the other one is for KV Partners. I'm looking to do some infrastructure, on the south side. I have a lot of failures on the south side of town. And so, I have to start with with what I'm proposed in front of you here is to do a drainage study. So I know where the water can go and where it's going to go before I start laying out new plans. It's just a procedure. You just can't start
Yeah, you just can't.
building without laying it out, and, all the water uphill has gotta go somewhere, so you gotta lay it out and figure out where you're gonna go with it, and,
Go with it while you're repairing it too,
right.
and then make sure
So-
it comes down well. Okay.
Well, it doesn't all go into the main line.
Well, so all my
Is it-
failures are on the south side of Highland, so if you take that and start up on the hillside, it's gotta either come down the middle and go onto Highland or down Warren Street. So we gotta figure out the hydraulic flow, where the best place can go without overloading the system. So,
Huh.
that's,
Originally, there were streams that ran down through there,
there still is,
been filled in everywhere.
there's still a stream there on Winter Street that crosses over,
Yeah,
comes down from Fox Park.
yeah, where Fox Park Apartments parking lot is off Winter Street used to be a pond.
Yep.
And there was a stream came down, it came down from up, there was a wetland up on Langdon Street, and it flowed down across Pleasant Street and down across Garland Street and then down across Wentworth Street and down through where Fox Park is to that pond, and then it went across Winter Street and came out behind that house on the corner and flowed into the Fox Pond Brook or whatever they call it.
Do we have a motion on the engineering?
I move that we expend $9,600 for the engineering study.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Get some sleep.
Crew too, Joe.
Yep.
Who's plowing.
Oh, crap.
All right, other new business, review Plymouth Woods abatement application for 2017. Plymouth Woods is a low-income housing project located at 21 Marie Way,
Yeah.
Plymouth, New Hampshire. They've filed under RSA 75:A:(V) to have their taxes calculated based on 10% of income. Using the income approach, Plymouth Woods' total tax for 2017 should be $27,170. And if we look, the actual tax assessment was $33,042. A difference of $5,872 needs to be abated. In order for the second bill to go out at the correct amount in future, the assessor needs to calculate the adjusted assessment after the tax rate is set, but before bills are calculated. And this comes from Gary Fournier, assessor. Do we have any discussion on this?
I don't think we have any choice, really.
They're protected under this RSA, basically.
Yeah. No discussion? Do we have a motion?
I have a little bit of discussion. I still think that, that there's got to be other money that he's getting from the government. It's not just what he's collecting from the folks that are there. So he's still getting the benefit of the use of that money, whether it's from the tenants themselves or whether it's money put in by either the state or the federal
Well,
government.
this says 10% of income, so that would be government or renters, or how is that?
I
This
would,
is rental income and other income.
I would like to see him submit that and let someone look over where the money's actually coming from, whether it's from the government, the state, federal, and what portion of it is the tenants. And if this is actually the case, I'd like him to show that.
Yeah, send a submitted revenue table showing everything he's gotten from the renters.
We can't
as
just
well
take
as
his word
the
for it.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
did Gary do that?
He did not. He felt that this statement supports his findings. I can talk to him about it, and he can reach out to them and receive that information.
Yeah, I think we
but-
need a detailed,
But they do give us their statement, their account statement.
oh, they did?
Yep, right here.
That
Well, it's
includes the
property tax.
subsidies?
Well, it's for property tax, so I guess there is more information they could provide to us, so we can definitely have Gary contact
Yeah.
Plymouth Woods.
And definitely ask, what portion, what amount is the subsidy portion, and what amount is the actual tenants that are living there paying?
And if this is 10%, it should be 10% of the total income and not just one, so.
Right.
So we'll table this and you can get with Gary.
There's how many units there?
Oh, I'm not sure how many units.
I should remember.
Yeah, I'm trying.
I wonder if he based it on the total amount of rents.
Yeah, that's
That's probably
Doesn't
what it
list
is.
Well, I mean, normally you get, if it were full rent, you would get, what, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a year per unit?
Filled
Minimum.
up, aren't they?
Hmm?
Aren't they filled up?
Oh, yeah.
I just
Yeah,
can't,
there's a waiting
I
list.
just can't remember. I mean, this would show 5 units,
I'm trying to
basically.
remember, was it like 30 units?
Now, this would show 4 units if this were at full rent, so I'd really be interested to find out what the actual picture.
Is that the board's wish that we get a detailed accounting of the income?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Any committee reports?
I have a marketing committee for the chamber tomorrow evening at 5:30, and then a chamber full board meeting coming up, I believe, on, I can't remember the day, within a day or two after, this week. Thursday.
And the planning board met, and like I said, we are at full capacity in regard to full-time members, and we're working on a couple alternates. And I missed the last meeting because I was stuck at an SEC hearing. It was the last Giuda hearing for Northern Pass, and it was down in Concord, and I couldn't get away. But there was discussion on the master plan and assigning, portions to wrap it up, because there are several areas that still need to be filled in for background documentation, but the plan itself is pretty much complete, substantially complete.
How did the SEC hearing go?
I actually was there for both the Town of Plymouth presentation by Brian Murphy, and also for PERLAC, Plymouth River Local Advisory Committee, and they finished the hearings, and actually Brian did a great job describing the traffic flow. There was quite a bit of questioning regarding the traffic flow on alternate routes when they were constructing down through Main Street. And he gave a very concise and informative, answers. So I was very pleased that he made it, and because otherwise I would have been on the hot seat. So. And what else? So we got the Energy Commission. We heard earlier from Grace that the Energy Commission met a few weeks ago, actually, and we'll next meet on January 17th at 6 p.m. And speaking of getting back to the planning board, though, too, 2 meetings ago, which I didn't report, there was just a feel of the board. There was a presentation on a piece of property that was like surrounded by university property that is not developed. And there was a discussion regarding the construction of a 3-story, 3 or 4-story, housing complex, or apartment complex for university students. And it seemed like it was like a best use of that property that was still wedged in between university properties. And we'll see if the owner is going to go forward with the project. And the next planning board meeting is on the 18th, and there's going to be 2 additional properties or projects that are going to be presented. Brian kind of gave a hint as what they are, but they're not formal projects. They're not going to be coming forward with a, like a site plan, but they're just going to get the feel of the board to see if they can come forward with these projects. So
Awesome.
things are happening. But,
Good.
Yeah.
Finally. Good news for the taxpayer.
Yeah.
All right.
The executive director of the North Country Council, Barbara Robinson, has resigned. And there probably will be other resignations. And so it's kind of a shakeup. I'm going to be attending a couple of meetings this week and next week.
Okay. Brian?
The next Parks and Rec Commission meeting is Wednesday the 17th.
Wow, that's a busy day, huh?
Yes. It's a very busy day.
Wow, because that one meeting is 17th at 6, and we have a meeting here at the town.
Meeting's at 5:30.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. And I had none. All right. Any public comment?
We have some business that we have to revisit.
Okay.
Keno. Sorry, out of breath. I've got the staff working downstairs to check our calendar for a public hearing on the Keno. I need to find out from the board on whether you want to entertain putting it in a warrant article for the March meeting.
In a manner that we're supporting it, or what? Or
No,
No, just
as
to
a
have
warrant
it
article,
there.
to vote yes or no.
Yes or no on the Keno?
I think it's a good idea.
Do we have a choice? Because isn't it
It
statutorily?
sounds like it because it says, should the Board of Selectmen decide. I'm just saying, if you decide after tonight, we're gonna run out of time to hit the deadline.
Do we know if there's any other local towns around us that are thinking of doing it?
I haven't had a chance to look into any of that, Mike.
So all I've heard of is Franklin.
Didn't Franklin do it?
Franklin's either has one or is developing a place.
Rochester turned it down,
Laconia has one.
voted it down.
I mean, this late notice has all kinds of things in it, such as understanding the town meeting deadlines are fast approaching. Yeah, this was sent out during the holidays.
Seems like something that we shouldn't make any decision on without,
You can't make a decision, it's not a board's
well,
decision.
whether to put it as a voting warrant article without first getting input from the police chief and.
But
Well,
again,
I
that's why
think-
you're gonna have a public hearing. Well,
I think we need to have a.
I can't have a public hearing for you guys to see if you wanna have a public hearing. There's not enough time to do that.
I think we should have
So-
a public
And
meeting.
your next selectmen's meeting is too late.
So, I would propose we go forth with the warrant article in writing and have a public hearing and see what the will of
Remember,
the
you've-
people is.
Got till the middle of February. Oh, so I guess your next meeting, you could. You could call a public hearing, I guess, to get a feel for whether the public wants the selectmen to put it as a warrant.
Do that before submitting the warrant on.
Do we need that?
I just think that the taxpayers and citizens should have a right to make a decision on this.
Kind of feel that as well, for the fact that it's a revenue producer and, maybe just get the, forward with like at least,
I'm not for or against it.
well, I've got an opinion on it, but I don't express it at this time, but I'm not really supportive of it, but I wouldn't want to put it down because it is a revenue producer, and if that's the feeling of the legislative body, then I guess that'd be fine, but.
So do we have consensus on how we want to proceed?
I would move that we put it on the warrant so that the citizens can decide.
And do we want to have a public hearing on it?
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion
I made a motion
to,
to put it on the warrant,
and
put Keno on the warrant, and have a public hearing.
we have a second?
A second.
All right, all those in favor?
A discussion?
Discussion?
You have a motion and a second, you need to have a discussion
Yeah.
on something like this, John.
I think if, we put it like is proposed on the warrant, and then the public hearing is, before we go to vote, people, have the opportunity to speak for or against and make their point for or against. I think it will be settled from there.
I have go ahead, Paul.
Well, the only reason why I'm still, as I'm reading this as we're going, looks like there's two options here. The law was written to give municipalities the option to allow Keno in their communities by putting it on city, should also include towns, but it doesn't, election ballots, or as a warrant article for consideration at the annual town meeting.
That's what we're talking about, right? Warrant article at the town meeting.
Right now, you're talking, or it could go on the election ballot. We can also get a rep to come here within 2 weeks from the
Why don't
state.
we do that for the next meeting?
So I'm saying, before you move too fast, why don't I try to get a rep here?
Be what, the 22nd?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those issues, my personal opinion is that I think it's one of those issues that needs more time than we may think for people to, research it, the benefits and, that it may bring, or what it may bring to the town of Plymouth, so.
Especially since we've been talking for a couple of months now on the revenue problems that we're having.
If
But we don't want to just jump at anything.
If we put it on the warrant, though, that would give plenty of time between now and town meeting for people to discuss it.
But the people, if you put it on the ballot, everybody gets to vote. If you put it on a warrant article,
Just the
then
people that
just
show up
those
for that
people
meeting
that
will vote.
show up at the meeting. Yeah, I think,
And Ann just brought up the state, on February 12th, we could have a public hearing on the matter. That would meet the requirements for either or.
yeah.
A month prior and, okay.
So we were able to fit in a public hearing.
You want to amend yours or
What would you like?
whatever? If
Do
you want to
me
go
withdraw
forth.
it, or?
No.
I think we ought to vote on the motion.
I would say if there's time, if we have this hearing, if that's what the board would like, and then to go with, I don't know if there's time at that point after the hearing to see what the public is heavily one way or the other, to then decide whether there needs to be something for a warrant article. But I don't know if there's time for that, or whether a warrant article could be brought up from the floor.
Yeah, again, I wasn't thinking of that when it was brought up, but if it is a warrant article, it'll be approved by 100 or 120 people of the town, and not the general public if it was put on a ballot. I think you'd,
I would agree with that.
I
think
do
prefer
agree with
to see
that.
it.
So modify the motion to put it on the ballot.
do we want to have the state rep come on the,
Josie and I can try to get a state representative, and I guess
For
it's
the
from the New Hampshire
22nd?
Lottery, to explain the whole thing to the board on the 22nd of this
okay,
month.
and then we can,
That still gives you plenty of time to decide that night on whether you want to have the public hearing on the 12th. Because
okay,
that'll give us 20 days, which is more than enough.
January
That sounds good.
22nd.
Yeah.
okay, so we'll just
Okay.
withdraw the motion.
Yeah,
and
I withdraw it.
Draw the motion, and we'll have the people.
Gives you two more, and we'll get as much information as we can to you, to give you two, just don't talk together as a group.
Right, yeah.
We'll give you more information so that you can think about it for a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Start doing that tomorrow.
But that does sound better for it to be on a ballot, because that would be a more,
I just like seeing more people come to town meeting.
I would too, but it's not happened. Sometimes I think there's less
It might this year.
in recent, so. All right, anything else?
We're going to do public. The general
Just
public.
non-public.
No,
The public comment?
Yes, I would like the board to, as part of the information, there's a sufficient number of towns that voted against it, and there's got to be some unintended consequences of having that, and that's where we need their rationale as to why they decided not to, and if it's through.
Well, if we have some of the towns, maybe if we had a list of the towns,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
yes.
Do you know that that's happened, Frank? Because according to this, it couldn't have happened yet.
Well, there is, you know.
It's
that's
supposed to
why
happen
like-
in March. All the towns are supposed to vote on it in March.
Well, people have already voted, though.
There's
I mean,
Keno.
towns are going
Yeah,
forward, have
Laconia
already gone
is-
forward with it, and also towns have rejected it.
Well, I'm not making a case for any position. I'm saying
Right,
is,
right.
if there's anyone that has, if there's there's gotta be unintended consequences of this that have been in a couple of years ago. That's why I'm saying is to allow ourselves the joy of discovery through the public safety officials and anything that deals with the type of gaming as to what effect it would have on us.
And my question to Frank was only to ask if he knew of any towns that have already voted against it.
Yeah, well, I say, well, I know
We'll
Rochester,
look into that.
Rochester put it down, I think, but I don't think we want Rochester to drive up here to explain it to us, but.
Well, if somebody could contact Rochester.
I think Lebanon voted against it.
Really?
Wow.
Well, we need
Yep.
to
Right, okay.
allow that.
We'll put that as part of us looking into researching this for you in 2 weeks.
Okay, we're gonna go into non-public. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we go into non-public.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.